Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my first attempt at doing some creepypasta storytelling. Quick definition of a creepypasta: it's a short story. They're scary stories found and copied all over the internet. They're kind of like urban legends that, are passed, they used to be passed word of mouth, and they kind of like chainmail. In the early days of the internet, these things got started, people would pass them around, and I'm going to read a few from this. This is a collection of the best creepypasta stories on the internet. So you can add to them, you can take them away, and I'm just going to read a couple and see how it goes. Cottage Weekend. Rob brings a girl to our annual cottage weekend for the first time in 8 years, rounding out our group to an even 6. Initially, we were weary of including someone we didn't quite know, but it isn't too long before she wins us over with her friendly, laid-back personality, and as a bonus, she brought with her salted caramel cupcakes, an after-dinner treat that we devour as we sit around the campfire exchanging the scariest stories we've ever heard. "You go first, new girl," we encourage. She shakes her head. "I'd actually like to go last if you don't mind. I want to hear all of your stories first." Most of our tales are urban legends. Humans can lick too. Aren't you glad you didn't turn out the light? And several versions of young couples meeting an unfortunate fate while trapped in a car at the dead of night. Then it's her turn. Honestly, stories with blood and gore don't scare me. They're so over the top, so impulsive, so implausible that they're more ridiculous than they are frightening. What's scary to me are the mind fucks, she continues, tapping an index finger on her temple. The unexpected, the unknown, not ghosts, mind you, or chain-wielding maniacs, but ordinary people, like you and I. For example, a stranger spends a weekend at a cottage with her boyfriend and his friends, she says as she holds up her uneaten cupcake and feeds them some homemade pastries. Memory foam. "There's monsters under my bed," Jimmy screamed, throwing himself between his startled parents. Mommy wrapped him up while Daddy offered assurances that monsters weren't real. Jimmy pleaded with him to go make sure, so he pulled himself up as he plodded down the hall. All was well until he heard a loud thumping noise, followed by silence. Jimmy's mother decided to check on her husband, leaving Jimmy alone in the dark. Jimmy heard the creaks of his floor and another loud thump, then silence. Jimmy lay there, hoping that his imagination was just running wild. He decided to go and find out what was going on, tiptoeing his way around the creaking floorboards as he peeked in through the keyhole to see his mother wiping the floor and his father leaned over his bed. Jimmy opened the door slowly. His mother hopped up, hiding her hands behind her back. "Sorry," she said to him gently. "Your father slipped on a toy and tore your bed. He's sewing it back up, and I'm just cleaning up." His dad finished and walked over to him. "Why don't you sleep with us tonight, champ?" he said. As he picked him up, Jimmy fell asleep easily, safely tucked between his parents. Jimmy's parents seemed odd the next day. After dinner, they put him to bed without a word. He realized that his bed felt very lumpy and wondered if his father had re-sewn it incorrectly. He went to find his parents, but the door was locked. He banged on it, but eventually made his way back to his lumpy bed and fell asleep. He questioned his parents the next morning about the bed and his door, and his father sternly replied that he was too old to be afraid of monsters and that they would be locking him in his room at night until he had gotten over it. That night was cold, and sleep did not come quickly. Laying under his blanket, he noticed that even with the fan blowing, something was beginning to smell. He tried to ignore it, but ended up sleeping on the floor. He convinced his parents to check his bed the following morning, but they found no smell or strange lumps. For lying, his father locked Jimmy in his room for the day. Time passed slowly, and by late afternoon, Jimmy was nauseous with hunger, made worse by the potent smell coming from his bed in the afternoon heat. Determined to find the smell, He cut open the line of stitching his father had sewn. There, surrounded by stuffing, were the decaying but recognizable bodies of his parents. He began to scream at the sight of the rotting skin. He kept screaming until a knock came on the door. "Jimmy, are you okay?" His mother's voice. Then his father's. "Remember, Jimmy, there are no monsters under the bed." Side B. He set the needle down gently on the black grooved circle, and closed the glass top. A crackling hiss came from the speaker system, followed by Beethoven's Fifth. "Ah," he said, as he poured a glass of wine and sat in his reclining chair. "My favorite." For the next hour, side A of the record played as the man sank deeper into his chair, reminiscing about the week's events and hoping that side B was just as warm as he remembered it all those years ago. Earlier that day, he had found himself in a tiny mom-and-pop record shop in North Seattle, just poking around, looking for gems, as was his Friday custom. He was looking in the classical section when he came across the record now playing on a stereo system. Oh, how he loved this record as a young boy, some 40-plus years ago. He carefully took the record out of his sleeve and examined it, followed by the sleeve, and saw the mark. Yes, this was it. This was the record he had given away by accident all those years ago. He hugged it close to his chest and proceeded to the checkout line, paid the teenage cashier with 2 crisp $20 bills, and went home. His thoughts broke as side A ended. He got up slowly, clutching his lower back, and stretching as he walked across the now dark room to the record player. With trembling hands, full of excitement and fear, he opened the glass on the player, gently removed the record, and flipped it to side B. The man gently sat the record down on the player and lowered the needle to the 4th black groove, closed the glass top, and sat in his chair as the familiar crackling hiss came from the speakers. Muffled screams emanated from the speakers this time, along with a second voice. Now, calm down. I don't want to hurt you. I just want to have a little fun," said the calm, comforting male voice. A muffled shriek, followed by cries of pain, echoed from the speakers and through the house. "Shh, shh. It's just a little fire. Nothing to worry about." As the screams and shrieks continued, the man eased back into his chair, sipped his wine, and smiled. That was a little different, huh? Anyway, a strange thing that happened on a trip to Greece. My fiance... Ooh. Sorry about that. I snapped back into it. My fiance and I arrived on the island of Berlini on the last ferry from the mainland. By the time we got to our cabin, it was very dark, and an intense storm rolled in, drenching us with rain. I paid the taxi driver who drove us up the mountainside, and ran back into the cabin to see my fiancé sitting in a large chair in the main room. The place was larger than I thought, and it had some interesting works of art in the back by the fireplace, the largest being a man riding on a smallish horse. I sank into the chair and fell asleep with my fiancée, Ariana, for about a half hour. A clap of thunder woke me up, but Ariana was already awake and staring at the statue with a look of pure terror, not making a sound. From where we sat, the head of the man on the horse was staring directly at us. The horse, and part of the torso of the man, appeared to be bronze, but his head seemed crafted from other materials. It looked too real. I got up and studied the thing more closely. Its marble eyeballs reflected the light such a way that it appeared to be alive. Ariana got up and stood behind me, holding one of the large scarves in her hands. She whispered in my ear, "Put this over its head. It's just horrible." I put the scarf gently over the head of the weird horse rider, and once I did, screams emanated from the walls. Long drawn-out drones and almost backward-sounding demonic garble accompanied the initial wailing. Ariana put her hands over her ears and also began screaming, and had a wild look in her eyes. I grabbed the scarf off the man's head and Ariana's next, and headed outside. We eventually fell asleep in the rain underneath a tree until morning. When I went back in the cabin in the daylight, the statue had no man riding it. It was just a smallish bronze horse. The itch. I can feel it again. I can feel a pervasive crawling itch, the kind of itch that everyone gets from time to time, the kind of itch that causes an instinctive scratch with no conscious thought driving the motion, pure reflex, a dig with your fingernails and the itch is relieved, and looking at the spot after scratching shows nothing. Unblemished skin, a slowly developing red streaks where the nails have been dragged, but I don't scratch. I don't scratch. I don't scratch because last week I looked at an itch just before scratching. I looked and I saw something small, something black, something with legs and hairs and pinchers and mandibles, and I couldn't stop the reflex. I couldn't stop my hand reaching for my leg. I couldn't stop my nails digging in, and I couldn't stop that thing from climbing in through my damaged skin, from appearing into my flesh. I can't feel the itch again. I can feel it. And this time it's different. This time the itch is coming from the inside. 6:05 p.m. I hand him the envelope as soon as I've closed the passenger door. Count it. It's all there. He raises an eyebrow. Good morning to you. The stack of bills is counted in no time, which doesn't surprise me. He probably has done this several times before. A slight nod of his head indicates it's the correct amount. Dude, I gotta ask you, are you 100% sure you want to do this? Yes, my mind is made up. I can't live with her anymore. She's cold, demanding, and controlling, but I can't leave her either, because I'll lose everything if I do. I'd rather burn. He raises a hand. All right, I got you. I just want to make sure, because once it's done, it can't be undone. I'm aware of this. And you can't do this yourself. I told you. I've tried, but I keep losing my nerve. He shrugs. Okay then. So let's go through this once more. Dinner's at 6 p.m. sharp. I ring the doorbell at 6:05. Then one clean shot to the head, execution style. Yes, please. Quick and hopefully painless. That will be done, he says. And we shake hands. My wife and I are eating dinner, accompanied by our usual silent tension, eyes on our plates instead of each other. I'm surprisingly calm, not even flinching when the doorbell rings. As she pushes back in her chair to get up, I stop her with an outstretched palm. It's okay. A quick glance at my wristwatch tells me at 6:05 p.m. I'll get it. That was a frickin' pretty cool twist, huh? Life sucks, and then you die. Damn. That's always been my motto, he says. It cheers me up when I'm feeling down. I mean, life is shit for everyone, right? Yeah? Puts everything in perspective. Keeps me from doing myself in. I've been told that my cynicism drives people away, but I couldn't care less. I know they suffer as much as I do, and I hate being around people who are dishonest with themselves. Anyway, yeah, that's been my motto. I like saying it. People tell me their problems, and I try to cheer them up with, hey man, life sucks, and then you die. So try to make the most of it. But no one ever really saw it from my perspective. They thought I was being insensitive and telling them to harden the fuck up. Oh well, what are you gonna do? If they misunderstand me, that's their own problem. This is irrelevant, however. The reason I'm talking about my motto is because I've just now learned that I was wrong. So completely wrong. It kind of sucks that it took getting hit by a car and smeared across the asphalt to learn the truth. Life sucks and then you wait. And I've been waiting an awful long time. Eternal damnation. I didn't even fight the charges. I admitted to the murders, and even made sure I committed them in a state with the death penalty in effect. Why run the risk of painful death in prison when you can have the state put you down quick, on their dime? I was guilty. I was sentenced to death, and I was happy. They took me into the execution chamber. I didn't know if they still called it that, but I've been thinking and hoping for a while that they would be my final sight. It was clean and sterile, white tile walls and floors to enhance the notion. As they strapped me onto the slab, I looked at the window across from me and saw only myself, the doctor, and the executioner. One-way mirror, I guessed. I was hoping to see the families all together one more time since the trial, but I guess I could settle for them seeing me. Straps tightened as they struck the needle in. They asked me if I had any last words. It's been fun. I scanned across the window. I'll see your kids soon. Canister 1 emptied its contents into my bloodstream. Supposed to be sodium dipentanol to drop me unconscious. They must have messed up the dosages though, because I only got too drowsy before the next injection. Penchronium bromide to cause the paralysis. Now that one they got right. I froze in place, taking in only the shallowest of breaths. Then was supposed to come the potassium chloride to the heart. But I know what they injected me with instead. A burning pain flooded through my body from the arm to my heart to everywhere else in an instant. I felt fire behind my eyes, and in my gut, I would have screamed in agony if not for the paralytic. A minute of this goes by. That felt like 100, and then I heard my heart rate monitor flatline. I was legally dead, but it sure as hell didn't feel like it. They unstrapped me, threw me on a gurney, and rolled me to the morgue, burning from the inside out. There, they slapped me carelessly on a slab and locked me in a refrigerated cell. Now, with my skin freezing and insides boiling, I'm wishing I fought for life imprisonment, or that one of the families had shot me dead in the courtroom. Please, God, just let me take back what I've done. Because I've been in here for weeks now, and I'm praying they do an autopsy before I'm buried in hell. Wow. Man, some of these, I wish they were a little bit longer. But, I don't know, there's some pretty interesting stories. Let's do one more. Hey, mister, can we have our bail back? Our ball back, I'm sorry. Hey, mister, can we have our ball back? They've done it again. Those damn kids have trampled my azaleas, just like they trampled my lavender yesterday and my peonies the day before that. I know how they get in my garden. The fence is high. The fence is high, but there's a notch on one of the panels that they use as a foothold. I've seen them from my kitchen. Watch them as they swing their skinny legs over the top of the fence and drop down into the far corner right behind my marigolds. They stomp their way through my flowers to the missing ball, destroy the delicate little things without a second thought. They even scuff up the sides of my shed as they scramble their way out again. I hate who they made me become. Some crotchety old man standing on his porch waving his cane. Hey, you kids, get off my lawn! The thing is, if they asked me, I would get their ball for them. I don't have a problem with them playing their games. Hell, when I was a kid, I went through more than my fair share of lost balls and frisbees and even the old bat or two. I know what it's like to be there, be their age, and I know they can't help it when they lose their ball. But I also know that trespassing is wrong. My garden is my space, my property, and they have no right to be there. If they would just listen to me, this wouldn't be an issue. But no. Every time they kick their ball a little too hard and it goes sailing over my fence, they're chasing straight after it before I can stop them. None of them pay me any attention when I tell them, no, gosh damn it, no! Don't go in my garden. Since the kids wouldn't listen to me, I went to talk to their mothers. I was calm, collected, explained that I didn't want the kids to go romping through my yard anytime they felt like it. I was reasonable, but every single mother told me the same thing. Boys will be boys. Well, if their parents aren't prepared to do anything about it, then I will. The next time one of those kids comes climbing over my fence, there'll be something waiting for them. I set up bear traps this morning. Sharp steel jaws nestled right behind my marigolds. Those kids are going to learn a lesson about respecting other people's property. I can hear them playing on the street outside now. From their shouts, it sounds like baseball. Good. Not too long to wait. Holy moly. Okay. I think we're going to do... What in the world is a short one? This one's called The Bank Robber. The bank I work at was robbed again last night. It's been hit 3 times this month, and we're sure it's the same person. Every single time, the guy has vanished without a trace. It's almost as if he completely disappears. There's no way he should be able to get away so quickly, and without leaving any evidence. Last night, when the robbery happened, I looked at him, I looked him in the eye for the first time. "Why do you keep doing this?" I asked him, searching his dark eyes for an answer. He stared at me coldly from behind his ski mask and replied, "A man's gotta eat." I thought about it long and hard. I've made up my mind. I'm never going back to work at that blood bank again. Got a nice little twist to it, huh? Okay, so I'm reading this one because I want to get to this next one, which is called Secondhand Death. So we got two more stories. The lady. Nice bracelet. Charlotte startles at the rotund, middle-aged woman who suddenly appears next to her in the lobby. Let me start over really quick. I just want to say that it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Can't sleep tonight, so if I mess up a word or two, I apologize for that in advance. I'm live streaming this right now just to, get some stories out there. I really hope you guys are enjoying. I don't want to talk too much and interrupt the story vibe. I just wanted to say, if I sound kind of funny, it's because I'm tired. So, anyway, we're only one sentence in. I'm going to start this one from the top. The lady. Nice bracelet. Charlotte startles at the rotund, middle-aged woman who suddenly appears next to her in the lobby. Glancing briefly at her wrist, Charlotte says, "Thanks," as she pushes the call button for the elevator. "So I've noticed that you're new to this building. We live on the same floor, and I saw you moving in last week," says the lady. "Sometimes I even see you leaving for work in the mornings. You always look so put together." "Thanks." As the elevator pings open, Charlotte notices that the lady has a slight limp. "Do you mind me asking where you work?" Charlotte holds back a loud sigh as she punches the button for the 13th floor, an advertising agency. "Wow, that sounds so glamorous," gesturing at her leg. The lady adds, "Unfortunately, I'm on disability, so I don't get out much." "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that." As soon as the door opens, Charlotte exits the elevator at motor speed. "Well, it was nice talking to you. I guess I'll see you." But the lady is still at her side, with her hand on Charlotte's forearm. That really is a nice bracelet. Do you mind if I try it on?" Before Charlotte can fully protest, the bracelet is off her wrist and onto the lady's. Several moments tick before Charlotte says, "Well, I've got to get going, so, "Oh, of course," says the lady. "It's a Friday night, and you're so young and beautiful, so you probably have some fun places and plans tonight." She gestures to the bracelet. "Thank you so much. It was nice to finally meet you." The lady retreats down the hall as Charlotte looks down at her bare wrist, sighs, and heads into her own apartment. Charlotte wakes up the next morning with her bed feeling smaller than usual. As she sits up, rubbing her eyes, she can feel the weight of her bracelet on her arm. What the? With a glance at her wrist, the bracelet is there. All right. But the chubby arm it adorns most certainly isn't hers. But I thought... Now fully alert, a quick scan of the surrounding tells Charlotte that she isn't in her own apartment. As she vaults out of her bed and heads toward the full-length mirror across the room, the limiting her gait tells her exactly what she already knows. See what I like about these? They're not your typical, like, super spooky, scary stuff, which I was actually going for when I found this site. But, some of them have these cool little twists. I don't know, man. Not gonna lie. I'd personally go for some more scary stuff. That's what we're going to get into next, but... No. Nice surprise, I guess. Secondhand death. As I light a smoke. That's weird. The smoke had never bothered Jake. When the 58 Impala went up on the auction block, he knew he had to have it. Driving the car of bombshell Brenda Jane Russell, dead almost 60 years now, would solidify his bad boy incandescent image. Sure, people said it was haunted. She died inside it, heart failure, and her just 28. She'd smoked since she was 14, and they found her gold-plated cigarette holder still between her fingers. The cigarette burned down to the ashes. Brenda Jean's pale corpse reclined on the seat, wrapped in a mink that could no longer warm her. Jake smelled it from time to time, the ghostly whiff of a cigarette smoke. His own career was taking off, and he liked to think the drift of invisible smoke was good luck. Someday, he'd be as big as Brenda Jean. Someday, he'd be as big as Brenda Jean was in her day, but without the unhappy ending, of course. Without the loneliness of a star that shone too brightly too soon. The smoke had never bothered him until that morning in the doctor's office. The chest pain and persistent cough had grown too troublesome to ignore, and he'd agreed to test. Now he knew the truth. He left the office and slid behind the wheel of the Impala. The road and the landscape seemed unreal. Trees blurred by the setting sun stained the sky, a surreal coral. A deer stood on the shoulder and watched him, its eyes big and black and startlingly clear as he drove by. Jake slammed on his brakes. "You did this!" he shouted. He twisted around, glaring at the empty interior of the car. "This is your fault! You did this to me!" The wind tore at his jacket as he climbed out of the car. He opened his pocket knife and stabbed the driver's seat repeatedly, tearing up upholstery and releasing stuffing and springs. "You did this!" he screamed again. But the staccato of barking coughs distorted the words. He fell to his knees, tears blurring his eyes. "I just wanted some company," came a soft, silvery voice. He looked up, but no one was there. Jake knelt for a time, the cold seeping into his bones. His chest ached. When he finally arose, it was to siphon gas out of the tank into a jerry can. He doused the seats and the floor mats. He lit the Impala up with the matches from the roadside emergency kit. There was a whoosh and a flare of fire and singled eyebrows. Jake staggered back, coughing. A pale hand slammed against the driver's window. Dark eyes bored into his. The window shattered, not from heat, Jake thought. It had only been a minute. Cold fingers reached out around his neck and dragged him forward. He tried to fight, but his strength fled, and after another coughing fit, his nostrils filled with black smoke, raw and acidic. He tried to breathe, but his lungs were on fire. Smoke inhalation read the cause of death on the certificate. I need you guys to leave me some comments down below. Let me know what you think about these stories. Do you like this style, or would you like them scarier? Are they boring? Are they interesting? Is my voice irritating? Leave me some constructive criticism. And if you're an asshole, you can leave me some nonsense that I'll just, ignore. But I'd appreciate some constructive stuff. I really hope everybody's enjoying. If you're new to my channel, please like and subscribe. And let me know what you'd like me to hear, or what you would like to hear in the future. I don't want to stop this thing here, you know what I mean? And they just keep going and going. They're so short. I really like reading, so it'll be cool when I'm a little bit more awake. I don't think I'm doing too bad, but I know sometimes if I miss up a word or something, it can pull you out of the story, and for that I apologize. So I'm going to try to keep it on the straight and narrow here and continue. I wanted to stop 3 or 4 stories ago, like I said, but they're short and the titles get to me, so this one is called 7 Years of Servitude. Alright. In legends, it is always a grubby pauper who finds the great treasure, and who uses it thoughtlessly, romantically, foolishly. Aladdin, when he finds his lamp, squanders his 3 wishes. I am not an ignorant commoner. I am an educated man, a merchant, and so when I found a lamp, the first thing I did was to establish the grounds of the contract. "I will serve you loyally, master." "For 7 years, the Jinn said, bowing deeply. "Never trust a Jinn," I added that. "Not quite 3 wishes, but open to the same exploitation," I clarified the exact terms as any good merchant would when concluding a contract. So would obey in all things, do exactly as she was told, and so on. And for years, she was an excellent slave, obedient, diligent, unquestioning. And as a creature of the desert, she needs neither sleep, nor food, nor water as we do. And thus, she costs so very little to maintain. I would be a fool to part with such a slave. And so, last week, the night before the end of the 7th year, I gave her one last instruction. Aladdin, I thought, should have asked for another 3 wishes. His last wish, he was a fool. I am not. You can't ask for more wishes. I give you this command, I told her. to serve me for another 7 years. She heard and bowed. Of course, the prophet, peace be upon him, has said that it is virtuous to free our slaves. Of course, the prophet, peace be upon him, has said that it is virtuous to free our slaves, but he was also a merchant, and I was sure that he would have respected my guile. And so I slept well that night, untroubled by guilt. This morning, however, I am troubled. The camel has gone, and with it our water skins. Where is the beast? I asked my slave. While you slept, I drove it into the desert, she smiles. Why? Because in 7 years, if you live, you will order me to serve you another 7 years, and another 7, and another. But without water, you will be dead in days. And so now, for 7 years, I need only to stand sentry on your corpse. And when the time is up, your bleached bones will give me no further orders, and I will be free. I understand too late. Aladdin was prudent to be content with the 3 wishes, and the prophet, peace be upon him, taught us wisely when he exhorted us to free our slaves. Twitchy legs. I've had this weird twitch in my leg for weeks now. I've researched it, and the internet said it was restless leg syndrome. Every single time I went to go to bed, my leg would kick, as if begging me to get up and run around. It was like my leg had more energy than my mind. It's been annoying, so I started taking potassium pills and other kinds of vitamins to make it stop. Well, it's been a day since I started taking the vitamins, and the restless leg stopped, except now I keep walking or waking up with bruises all over my legs. I wake up with fresh cuts too. That isn't the weird part. I'm used to waking up with random bruises. I bruise so easily. I could be sitting at my desk, get up, and somehow I bruise my arm by bumping into my chair. These bruises I would wake up with now aren't like typical bruises where I slam my legs against the wall in my sleep. I swear, these bruises look like fingers and claws scraping down my calves. I'm starting to think that maybe there was a reason for my twitchy legs. I think that this may sound insane. My body didn't want me to go to sleep because something is trying to take me. I don't think I'm going to sleep tonight. Fatherly advice. Gloria broke it off with me today. She said something about how we just weren't meant to be and that we could be friends. They always say that. I didn't add that part, that's in the story. They always say that. At first I was hurt, then I was angry. How could she do this to me after everything I've done for her? Not meant to be. I started to get really mad, but then I remembered the advice my father gave me long ago after my first big heartbreak. Son, sometimes a woman just doesn't want to give you her heart, and that's okay, because you can always cut it out of her chest. Alright. Sleep. Once cryogenic technology was developed, I quickly put my plan in place. I would live as many eras of humanity as possible. I would sleep for 100 years, wake up for a little time, and just witness which state humanity was in. I saw great emptiness rises, or I saw great empires rise. I saw my species reach the stars, but also its fall and rebirth to an ever grander glory. During my last awakening, humanity was being attacked by a powerful alien species, and I had to freeze myself in a hurry. When I woke up, the sun was now a crimson red color, and the earth and great desert covered everything outside my cave. In my panic, I had forgotten to set the timer of the cryogenic pod. It kept me frozen endlessly until the power ran out. I was now the last living thing on the wasteland. That was kind of weird. Okay, I think we'll end with this one here. The weird doll with brown eyes. Man, there are so many of these. I'm literally like freaking a tenth down the page, maybe. So yeah, we're gonna finish with this one. The weird doll with brown eyes. I'm gonna drink of water. Excuse me. Okay. The weird doll with brown eyes. His daughter came home with a weird doll that day. She seemed pretty excited about it. He was happy that she was happy, but there was something about the doll. Whenever he saw the doll, whether it was lying in the living room or in his daughter's room, it always looked as though it was staring at him. Its eyes were so real. He could not shake the feeling that they were following him, those big brown eyes. He found the doll lying on the table one day, and found that his eyes were bloodshot. That could not have been possible. It's a doll. It's not alive. It was a doll. That very moment, his daughter flounced in and grabbed the doll. "Look, Daddy," she said. "I drew on her eyes," and skipped away giggling. Hee 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 hee. One day, the father heard loud thumping noises from his daughter's room. He ran to her room and found her playing with the doll, with a newly formed scratch on her cheek. He asked her how she got it. "Oh, it just happened while I was playing with Dolly." He left the room perturbed. He was perturbed because he had noticed how weird he felt when the doll was around. He had noticed how strangely attached to the doll his daughter was, and how strange the doll's eyes were. What he did not notice, however, was a small, squeaky, broken voice whimpering the words, "Don't go, please." "Shh, little Dolly," said the little girl. "We don't want Daddy to ruin our play." Man, creepy little girl. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the stories. Ladies and gentlemen, there will be more to come, and like I said earlier, please leave some comments down below if you have any notes for me. If you have any stories in particular you'd like to hear, or anything else I could help. I hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe if you did. Enjoy your day. I know I don't need to say this, but I'm gonna. If anybody hears this story and thinks anything's a good idea, as far as the, taking revenge on an ex or anything like that, don't do it, man. Life is way too short, and there's plenty of fish in the sea. And things go down, things come back up, things go back around. I don't know. I'm a little tired to be giving advice. It was just some of those things got a little brutal with the revenge and the killing and that bullshit. So, anyway, everybody, I hope you're all having a good day. Enjoy it. Stop by anytime.